report on computer. Okay, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you for doing this for me at the last minute. So the reason why I am making this video is in my effort to help out parents. So you've homeschooled, we've homeschooled together, we've homeschooled separately. And right now I have a couple of things that I've been doing some consulting with parents and caregivers, people that need help with homeschooling. I mean, we did it for how many years?
Feels like my life, but
A long time.
yeah.
And so a lot of the things that we have learned along the way, I've been sharing with other parents. Um, I created that schedule. Did I send you a copy of that schedule a while ago?
I'm pretty sure you did. I have to look in my email, but
Yes, but that was the same one that I gave to Brother Johnny when he was doing the class,
mhm.
a schedule to follow, because I wanted to know if it was something that was manageable, something that can be used. And so this is my effort, really just to share those tips to them. Anybody struggling, we had a lot of people that all of a sudden got thrusted into the world of homeschooling with this pandemic. And
Mhm.
so any way that I can offer them support is basically it. So I'm doing this interview just to kind of ask, if any of the things that I've shared with you with regards to homeschooling have been helpful to you so that I can know if I can continue to share that. Did it actually work for you? What worked best of the things, and what was wrong about it so I can see how to fix it, how to add to it. And this is just a way that we are, as a community, going to help out parents, caregivers, grandparents, anybody and I think it'll even be helpful with virtual learning.
Yeah.
Well, so if you can share with me, please.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, first off, the looking at scheduling and just the organizing aspect of homeschooling and teaching online has been a big help, because when you're prepared and you know exactly what you're going to tackle from day to day, that takes away a lot of your stress and anxiety as a parent and as a teacher. So those preparatory things that you do, just setting a schedule, saying, and then setting a sequence for how and when we're going to introduce stuff is very valuable, because having that plan takes away a lot of, again, the aggravation and the stress of, it's school time, what are we going to do? So the way you do your organization, that has been very helpful. Even with older students, as a teacher, I still utilize that, making a good lesson plan. And then with my third and fourth graders, and then of course even with younger students, or students who are having problem reading, that prescriptive spelling, the way that starts out, even you have some third and fourth graders that are going to look at it and they're like, oh, this is so easy. And I'm like, yeah, the words should be easy, but then it has those areas where you have to read it in a sentence and choose the right word, and then those vowel digraphs or diphthongs and things like that. Breaking that down to them is like giving them a foundation for when they do go into higher words. So the value of that prescriptive spelling 1 and 2 that you sent me has been very helpful with my third and fourth graders. So I'm definitely promoting that and going to with the students who have problems reading to review those words and those basics, because that's the foundation of the bigger words that you're going to move into. Um, what else? There was something else too that I wanted to make sure I mentioned. Planning, the prescriptive spelling. Man, my mind is bad. um, um, say the question one more time, because it may pull that'll trigger what I wanted to say, because I just got lost thinking about that one.
Well, what this helps me with is that those things were the most impactful. I could share the screen of the schedule if you haven't seen it in a while. Let's see if I can do the share screen. And actually, because I have a book coming out and that book mentions some of those things. Okay, hold on. I don't have it up Let me see, take a look at my desktop here. This was last moment, so of course I don't have everything pulled up. But in this, let's see, I have it categorized. See if I can grab this a little faster than what I'm going right now. Oh, don't mess that up. Excuse me. Because I have it highlighted in a particular way. So these were some of the things that, let's see if I can look at it, that I've talked about and that I'm outlining in this book that I'm hopefully will help out parents. Creating a plan, of course, is what we talked about. Establishing a routine. Hold on, should be doing a share screen. Hello. This is the contents, table of contents. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. Assigning a dedicated learning space, because we know that, you know, children and even us, consistency helps us to be better, but whatever it is that we're doing. So if we have our things in the designated area, like for me, literally, I keep a basket with all the books I'm going to use that day, everything. I'll keep the flash drives real close if I'm going to do it. I will have my, as you see my desktop up here, you see all this. This is literally lessons that I want to do. If there's a video that I want to do with them, if there's a document that I want us to look at, I'll have them open so that it's helping me with my daily routine. It's helping me. So since my situation is virtual with a lot of the students that I tutor and with the consulting that I do, I'm able to now. So this works as my workspace, my designated workspace. Whereas in person, you might have your desk, your chair in a certain area where those children will know this is where we're working today. Because they'll look for it. And if you just have them all over the place, then they're going to be like, okay, well, what are we doing right now? Establishing that space helps them to know, okay, we're about to have school right now because this is normally where we do it. So I don't know if you want to look at any of these things, or if you want to talk about some of the discussions that we've had, even about social interaction. You know, that's a big deal with people when they think about homeschooling, what's going to happen with that. In this, I try to dispel some of the myths because we're so busy worried about social interaction, we're not realizing where they get that from. So I don't know if you want to talk about that or any of these other things, using manipulatives,
I
including
wanted
their interests.
Yeah, definitely. Those first ones with, like you said, creating a reasonable plan. Like I mentioned, making that plan and making it realistic. You're not going to say, I'm going to homeschool all day from 8 to 4. That's
Right.
not realistic or reasonable for you or the child. And then, having that routine and your plan, and then the designated space. People don't realize how important that is because, it's just like saying you're going to have school in your kitchen. Well, you cook your food, that's for your kitchen. So you're not going to try to cook dinner in the TV room. So you shouldn't try to do school in an area that you want to have fun necessarily either. But I think what's important too that I got from you, where you have, get them moving and using manipulatives and include things that they're interested in, because all children, we learn differently. So some of them you're going to talk to, and because they hear you saying it or they listen to it from a video or some kind of audio player, that's they weren't fine, they're auditory. But what if they're a tactile learner? They need to have those manipulative. They need to be able to use their hands and actually make something or draw something or build something, or even just be able to count manipulatives with math, because it's easier for them to actually do it with their hands than to see it on paper and just count dots on a piece of paper. So being able to kind of until they're at an age where they can really take an assessment to know what type of learner they are, having that variety of ways that you're teaching is important so that they really get it, and then they get involved and they get moving, and that you have fun. Watching you do some tutoring, like when we tutored Johan together. Well, I them over to you tutor you on. But just that you didn't just sit down at the table and talk to him and go over homework. Y'all had fun. You were moving around the house. You were putting, sticky notes up and him having to search for it. So making that learning time, of course, valuable learning time, but also having some fun at the same time. So incorporating some of those games and stuff that you come up with, I think is very important because you want them to have a fun learning experience. You don't want it to be stressful for them or you.
Amen to that. I'm like, if we have to be here together, let's make it, let's make it a good time. And, I was talking with another parent and she was talking about how stressful it was because her idea of learning, she was only in the public school system. So that's what she knows. And she was thinking that she was going to have to be tutoring or homeschooling all day or now her child is young and she was already thinking about how am I going to teach quantum physics. But I mean that's your experience, so this way we introduce resources to them. So things like YouTube, things like Khan Academy, that we can make suggestions to show them because everybody doesn't know. And just because we're using those things, it doesn't mean it's automatically they're going to think about it or know about it either, which is why I am using this platform to see how I can better assist since I can't be everywhere at the same time, how we can help. And I wanted to mention, I don't remember because you mentioned about the different types of learning. Did I send you that learner's test? Did I send that to you? Were you able to use it?
You know what? I found one in it was more of like just a PDF form. It wasn't online.
Okay.
So, because I had I used it with my ninth graders, and that's like my biggest group is a lot of them.
Yeah.
So it was easy for me to just make sure everybody had that PDF to fill out.
Okay.
And then we went over how they scored it together, and then everybody just calculated their own score that way, instead of sending out the link and then everybody disappear from me and go to the link. So if it was one-on-one, I liked the link, but because my class was so much larger, I used a PDF version of the test.
Okay, absolutely. I think it's printable as well. The link that I sent you, it should be printable. And then what I like about it, and I'm glad you mentioned older children because sometimes we don't have the awareness or we're not thinking that the way that we're showing a child how to do it may not be the way that they learn. And then often now I am a firm believer in if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So for me, I love that we use manipulatives and all the different strategies for younger children, but people forget that an older child might need those things as well. And if it worked for them when they're younger, honestly, I don't understand why it's taken away from them as they get older, especially if it was working. And also that we're not really taking into consideration that those manipulatives were helping that hands-on learner. It was helping those visual learners, so that's why I like to do a lot of project-based learning so that they can see how things apply. So I'm glad you mentioned using it for the older children, because if we can find out how they learned, then that helps us as instructors, as whether we were working in a private school or a public school or, homeschooling, to really be able to help those children out, those students of ours. So
and what I noticed with my older students, I even gave it to some of my 11 and 12th grade group, and they were looking at it, and they were surprised because someone was like, I always thought I was an auditory learner, but then I scored really high on the tactile learner. So I guess I'm partially that kind of a learner too. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, so don't just limit yourself in the way that you study and the way that you kind of repeat information to yourself so that it'll stick better for you on your testing. And they were like, taking note of some of the tips that the test gives you into how you can study and do things for yourself better to help you better comprehend what is being taught. If your teacher only teaches it this way, what are some things that I can do to make sure that I get that hands-on? Even, as a language arts teacher, it's difficult to say, what are they going to do hands-on, especially in a world where we got everything digital. So, we're reading a book. I let them know way ahead of time about the book. So if you got to take it out of the library so that you can put your hands on it.
Yeah.
And reading on the screen, being able to flip through the physical pages, that it's doing something for you mentally as you're bringing in that information other than, you're looking at the screen. So yeah, that's a very valuable tool that I'm finding to make me switch up how I teach things in different manners, as well as giving them tips on ways that they can study better to make sure that they get it and that it sticks for them for when it's time for testing.
I appreciate that. I have here the, I don't know, do you remember this, recognize this is the schedule I was telling you about? Where it had the breakdown of
Yeah,
the schedule,
breaks and everything. Yeah.
and then how to play it. So this is some of the things that I'm going to be sharing, or that I am and have been sharing, and the how to do them. Hopefully I'll have some videos for those visual learners of parents to show them how to utilize this. But I really just wanted to ask if it was helpful and how it helped, so that I can know, okay, this was working, so I can continue to share it. So I appreciate you.
No problem. No problem. My pleasure.
Okay, so that was really all, unless you had more that you wanted to ask. Is it okay if I share this on my website that I am building? I don't have it yet. And possibly part of the interview on social media?
Of course.
Okay, I like to be totally transparent. So anybody watching this will know this was not scripted, this wasn't made up. We scheduled a Zoom and then we just kind of went with it, because I like to get honest feedback. Because if something is not working, I need to know as well, because I don't want to be telling people stuff, maybe like, that didn't work, you know? And then of
Right.
course, we know there's so many different strategies, and you know, and even with conversations with you, it helps me to remember some things that maybe I haven't done in a while. And I can say, oh yeah, we did do that, or I did do that a while ago, and help somebody else out. So I appreciate you for taking this time with me.
No
And
problem.
I'm, I'm going to end this recording.
All right.
Stop it.